Welcome everybody to my presentation. I'm glad to be here and share this short. I think is my presentation had the short presentation about the personal income tax because there are a lot of information, but I try to in this short time, 7 minutes, to explain what that is important for us to prepare our personal income tax. And I am the bachelor degree as an accountant, and I was working in Venezuela as an independent accountant. I know it was important to prepare our tax every year, and for me it's important to teach you because when you live in Canada, you need to understand what is in the environment in this point, right? Canadian taxes is not the same our country. That's why today I would like to teach you about the personal income tax. And my agenda is why we pay taxes. Who is responsible to receive it? Who has to file an income tax return? What documents will you provide to tax preparer? How much income tax do I have to pay? Why file a tax return? What happens after I file my tax return? And at the end of my presentation, if you have any concern or question, please let me know, okay? Let me start. Why we pay taxes? That's a good question. Why? If you live in Canada, some important services that you have free, like education, in Canada is free. Education, health, and hospital, right? That's the reason that you need to pay taxes, because the government use the taxes. These taxes is collected to pay for the public facilities, programs, and services. Of course, we enjoy every day in Canada. You are feel happy when you go to the hospital and you receive only with your health card and you receive attention, right? But who pay that? Each people live in Canada and of course generate income. When you generate income, it's because you are employed, or you are self-employed, or you are a shareholder. You have the business. That's the reason you need to pay taxes. Receive money. After the receive money, you at the end of the year is in the taxes. The year is between January 1st to December 31st. 1 year, you collect all the income you collect. You report after the finish this year. You collect this information and you receive some stuff that are next in the next pay. I will show you what is this slip that you receive from your employer. Okay. The next part, who is responsible to receive the taxes? The Canada Revenue Agency, CRA, is the revenue service of the Canadian federal government and most provincial and territorial governments. The CRA collects taxes, administers tax law and policy, and delivers benefit programs and tax credits. The next pay is who has to file an income tax return. That's a very good question because some people think about it. No, I don't need to prepare my income tax return. But you have to file a return, if you are a resident of Canada for tax purpose and you owe tax or want to receive a refund. What's the mean? What's the mean of that? Okay, they have two kinds of people came to Canada. Of course, the people born in Canada, Canada citizenship, Canada citizen, and people can to immigrate, but the status is permanent resident. Or maybe like me, I was a refugee in my past, protected person, and or people who have received approved in principle for IRCC. Citizenship is the organization prepare all the immigration people, right, to stay in Canada. If you approve this, you have the approved to start here, you need to prepare your income tax return. And temporary residents, like for example, the student, international student, or maybe seasonal worker. Some people's coming to Canada to work in the fall and for some short time. Don't worry if it's short time. If you receive some income, you need to prepare your tax return every single year. One word, no. But if you don't work, you can prepare your file because you have a documents that you receive. Doesn't matter if you don't receive, you can prepare in zero, of course. But some people, for example, it don't work, or maybe work his partner, or her partner, depending if he says is married, or maybe a student. Students, maybe it's no work, but receive some benefits. If you receive some income for the different programs, okay, benefit, I need to report in the CRA, okay? Another people that they must prepare the income tax return is residential ties. Who is the people residential ties? It's the people immigrate to Canada, maybe it has the property, like maybe house, maybe car or furniture, maybe came to Canada the tourist or maybe a visitor, and it have the Canadian driver license, have a Canadian bank accounts, credit card, health insurance with the Canadian province of territory, and you have to pay as well your income tax return with all the. For example, if you have a property like house, if you rent your house, you receive money from this tenant, right? That's the reason you need to prepare your tax income at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year for the old past year, okay? And the next, what documents will I provide to tax preparer? Okay, three type of information that you bring with you when you go to the tax preparer. The personal information, that's the most important thing, is social insurance number. SIN. SIN. That's the social insurance number you give to you, or you get this document in the Service Canada. Of course, when you go there, you need to provide what's exactly your status in Canada. That's the number you define your status. For example, in Toronto, in Ontario, there are 4 and 5. At the beginning, it's 9 numbers, but at the beginning, the number 4 and 5 used in Ontario, excluding one is Northwestern Ontario, is all Ontario, excluding Northwestern Ontario, okay? But this number defines exactly when you are resident permanent or you are Canadian citizenship. You are a Canadian citizen. But at the beginning, the number is 9, number 9. Then number 9 show you exactly that you are not Canadian citizenship and not permanent resident. You are the temporary. This is temporary since that expired in the limit time. Depend. Some students, depend the program, had the 1 year the thing. What is the mean the thing exactly? The number, social insurance number, used if you had the permit to work in Canada. If you had permit to work here, you receive this number. If you don't have permit, for example, if you come into Canada for tourist plan, you don't need to have this, right? Only if you have the purpose in Canada to receive some income. Another information, date of birth information about if you have spouse or common love partner, if you have information, what is your dependent, you have a spouse, child, what is your net income amount. That's the general information for yourself. That's the information received in your address. If you change your address in the year, for example, in my case, last year I changed my address. You need to report this my new address to my space in my website, in my account. And of course, if you had what question ask you the people prepare your tax? What is your show me because the old employer sending to you at the beginning of the year, in January, February, sending the employment income, T4. This is the most common slip that you receive every year. This slip show you exactly what amount you receive in all your year. Your wage, of course, vacation, some bonus if you have bonus, or commission if you had commissions in your in your job, and as well show me what discount received from tax in my employer take money from my wage every single 2 weeks. And this amount at the end show me in the T4. What is the amount that you have pay, the employer pay to CRA, and what is my income received in this year. If you are self-employed, business income is if you have a pension, if you had a rental income, if you are social assistant, all different T slip. There are different numbers. If you are Ontario Work, if you receive from disability, there are different tips like you show me, and the organization give you to you. You need if you don't receive, please call or looking for this information, because this information that's the most important for you, because the employer or the organization send it to the CRA. There are the one copy there, and you receive one as well. That's after that, the CRA compare what exactly you report or what you don't report, you didn't report. That expenses, you can, that's the most important thing, that is in income, Canada Revenue Agency receive some copy of your T4, of the T4 the pension, or the or from the Ontario Work. But in the expense, Canada Revenue Agency CRA doesn't receive your expense. Exactly, if you, for example, have a tuition. Tuition is the student, the T2, or employment expenses like this, T2 to 200, designed by employer or the union. When you pay union, some some expenses show me in the T4. But how much income tax do I have to pay? Some people don't understand because they pay if you has high wage, you pay more. Okay, for example, in this case, you have the 50%. The old people, their income is less 15,197. If your income is in the first, you pay 50%, and the federal, because there are two income, the two tax, federal tax and Ontario tax, provincial tax. And in this case, if you have I think we are in the first and the second. Our classmates, or we are in this first or the second maybe, and the 50% is before or less the 50,000, and in the Ontario provincial is 5.05%. And in the second line is that if you have between 50,000, 98, and 100,392. And in this case, the Ontario provincial is 9.15%, between 46,228 and 57,546. Of course, if you have more, if you have high wage, you pay more percent. Okay. Why file a tax return? Because a tax return is a document that you file with the Canada Revenue Agency that report your income, deductions, and credits for a given tax year. Filing a tax return is important because it determines your eligibility for certain benefits, credits, and refunds, as well as your tax liability. I think if you receive, for example, if you have discount in your job, and your employer retain money from you, and sometimes, for example, in my case, all the time, Canada CRA refund the money every year, refund the $1,000, refund me to me money. That's why that's important to file a tax return. Another reason is because the employer gives to each employee T4 slip and file your T4 return with the CR. I show you that you have the CRA receive from the employer all the slip that give you to the employee. That's the another reason. You have they had the information from you, and you need to report this every year, right? What happening after I file my tax return? CRA will review the information you submit and confirm the calculations are correct. That's told you. They would compare your return with information received from third parties, such as your employer and financial institutions. That's the most important thing. You prepare your tax, because at the end, when you submit all the information, he compared this information that received for this party. If you have different sources, for example, 3 jobs, in my case, last year, I have 3 jobs. I need prepare these 3 employers, send them to the CRA, my T4. That's why I need to prepare my tax return, and everything the same amount. No, you can change. You never change this information, okay? that it's important, keep your supporting document for 6 years in case the CRA asks you to provide them later. That's not exactly more common was the personal people ask you for your receipt, but that's important thing. You keep your receipt for 6 years and complete all the information or assessment, all the information you have for your tax, keep in your folder and keep for 6 years, okay? That's my presentation. Thank you for attending my presentation. And if you have any question, I will answer you. Don't worry about that. Nothing happened because if you don't have the out with the government, you don't have if you don't pay taxes because in my case, for example, when I arrived Canada, I arrived in September, but I didn't prepare my taxes in the next year. I prepared my taxes next 2 years. Nothing happened because I didn't pay taxes, right? If you don't pay taxes because you don't have more income than expenses, sometimes when I emigrate Canada, if you had rich, okay, now it's okay, different. But sometimes people, when like me or like you, I don't know, don't have the money. But if you open in the bank account, be careful, because if you open in the bank account and in your bank account you have a lot of money, you need to prepare your income tax. That's the most important thing that doesn't matter if you don't have, why? What's the money? Why? You live in Canada.